Welcome back to the shop, folks. If you just landed here from YouTube land, my name is Jason. My YouTube channel is Razor's Edge in Motion. And no, I know this isn't a razor. This is my fairly new 2021 General XP 1000 4-seater that replaced my little Razor 900 4-seater. I'm not changing the name of the channel before you ask. It's not going to be General's Edge in Motion, although we do have an increasing amount of Generals in the group and some more on the way. But still got plenty of razors, and in truth, they're really the same except for the way the body is built. So what I'm doing today is I already built the machine and I took it out on a couple of shakedown runs to give it a try to see how everything worked, see how everything held up, see if I needed to swap out any parts or modify any existing parts to improve on them before I started making videos telling you all about, you know, the build. In short, I didn't want to build a machine and then take it out and have something fail and then you not know about it unless you happen to watch the ride video that it happened in. So I've already done all that for you. Now I'm gonna piece by piece go through the whole thing and show you everything I've put on it, tricks and tips, and whether it worked well or not, what I would change, what needs to be changed. And today's video, if you read the title, I'm sure you already know, is about the rock sliders. Now this is going to be kind of a build series on the machine, but it's not going to be a part 1, 2, 3 type series. I originally tried that. It was not going to work because I have too many things all going at one time that all need to go into the same areas, and it's hard to separate into individual videos. So what I'm going to do is kind of tear it apart and then put things back on it, and as I put things back on it, when it gets to a point where I can film it and it makes sense, then I'll do that. So consider this part 1, but it's really just a rock slider video until I get to the next part I want to film, which will probably be these mud flaps because that's nice and easy and won't affect anything else. All right, so these are Apoc rock sliders. They come out of Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. And these are actually made for the General XP. When I was looking for sliders, when I was preparing the build for this machine and ordering all the parts, I could not find any General XP specific rock sliders. They all were made for both. And the problem with making them for both is, in order to make them fit this General, you have to cut the bottom off of that fender. Everybody that made General rock sliders did not update a design for an XP. They just said, just cut your fender and put them on there. It'll be fine. No thanks. So I happened to find these, and they are specifically made for the XP. They fit it very well. It does not stick out past the rear fender well. My 900 had some that stuck out, and while that worked great as a tree kicker to bypass, get by the rear tire, when I put larger tires on it, it then got into the tree kicker, and I ended up having to take a Sawzall and cut them off. So that really wasn't ideal. But these don't go past the rear fender. The fronts don't go past the front of the General XP fender. The XP has a larger fender well than the regular General because they come with 30-inch tires from the factory. But these do not stick out past the front of the fender well. As a matter of fact, they are just lightly resting against these Mudbuster fender flares that I put on here, which will help give them some extra support. So that kind of worked out. Another thing I like about them is the bottom of them is a little bit lower than the bottom of the body. So anything that they're sliding across, they're going to hold the machine up off the bottom of your rocker panels here, which is good. A lot of them I saw, the tube was up here, which will be good for side support, but it's not going to do nothing for the bottom. They all pretty much mount the same way. There are maybe some others out there that have some differences, but one issue I did run into, and I have made what I consider an improvement on it, and hopefully we'll take care of the issue permanently. And a lot of them mount the same way. It's not just this particular design or brand, but a lot of them use a little 1/4 inch, well, whatever the metric is for a 1/4 inch, M8, M10, whatever, M6 maybe even. Anyway, it just goes through this hole into the little tube, the tube that's behind this panel. And that screw's only job is to actually hold this rocker panel to the frame. There's one behind each one of these holes. And that's all that's designed to do. But unfortunately, the top of this rock slider, like I said, others as well, is only held on by that one little screw. And my first good trail ride out, I just simply snatched that little screw right out of that tube. And these were actually where you could wiggle it back and forth because there was nothing up here to help brace it. So I've engineered a way to fix that I feel is going to be a permanent solution. So let's go around to the other side and I'll show you what I did. By the way, this is supposed to be a quick rock slider video, but if you know me, if you've ever seen my videos, you know I don't do quick videos. If you were hoping to learn how to put these on in 3 minutes or less, you come to the wrong channel, I'm afraid. All right, so what I did is, this is a bolt. This is a RZR bolt. It came out of a RZR. I don't know when or where, but I do know that. It's about 3 3/4 inches long from the bottom of this flange. It just fit my purpose, is the reason I'm using it. It was in my pile of RZR bolts. It's pretty much the right diameter I was looking for, the right length. That's about 3 3/4, like I said, from the bottom of the flange to the end of the bolt. Right diameter. So what I did is took a 25/64 drill bit and enlarged the hole that was already here, but then went ahead and went all the way through the back of that tube, that frame tube. You can see, hopefully you see the bolt sticking out the back here. So the next part is I took a piece of angle iron that I had just laying around the shop. This looks like maybe 3/16. I don't think it's quarter, but even if you use quarter, that would be fine. But angle iron is great because you have this nice flat side that will go up against that frame tube to spread out the load, or I'm not sure, PSI maybe. Anyway, the force of this bolt pulling on the back of the tube. I didn't want to just put the bolt through, put the nut on it, tighten it down, and then run a chance of flattening the back of this tube, which once it begins to flatten, that's it. Its strength is gone. So between these two tubes that are going up to meet this one is about 7 inches. So that's what this piece of angle iron is. So you're spreading the load out 7 inches across that tube, and then you also have this piece, which if you know anything about how things bend, that's nearly impossible to bend in this direction. So this is not going to flex and that tube is not going to compress. So, but what I did is I drilled the hole, and then I put this in here and then drilled into the metal just to make a mark, and then I took it out, put it in a vise, drilled the hole. Now it's ready to assemble. And that, I believe, is going to solve this problem. Now Polaris does make rock sliders that look very similar to this. For the 2-seater, they'll be shorter. For the 4-seater, they actually have a loop like this here that goes up here and looks really nice, but they're junk. They call them extreme duty rock sliders, but they wouldn't protect you from a good sized tree branch, much less rocks. And the way they mount is awful as well. Just don't even get me started. But everybody else, the ones that I'm familiar with at least, uses this L bolt. The bolt, you take it and hook it inside the frame rail, and then you take this existing Polaris screw out first, and you put this in, line up the hole, and then put this back in, and that holds your plastics to your frame rail or frame tube. Now you don't want to really tighten these down all the way, because the job of this screw is not to secure this bolt. The tension pulling on these from the outside is what's going to do that, but this is simply just to hold them in place for you, basically. If these come under any strain here, it would simply just pull it right out, because that's pretty small, which is exactly what happened here. So to begin assembly or reassembly, all I'm going to do, Just put it back on these 3 L bolts. Should have had some bolts in my hand to make it stay. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just put these on loosely, just to make sure the thing doesn't fall off on the floor or hit me in the foot. I did upgrade the hardware a little bit. I got some really thick, these are about 1/4 inch thick grade 8 flat washers that I put behind the nylon lock nut here, because I have on my, well, I have seen regular flat washers back here actually deform and turn into cones, and made it, number 1, hard to get this nut back off, but 2, get sucked down into this mounting hole behind it and cause these things to work themselves loose. So we're going to put some good hardware on them so that doesn't happen. Got about 20 or so geese that like to live here, and they, I don't know, they're putting up a fuss about something. Whatever. All right, so I'm going to take my bolt here. Now, if you wanted to use a different one, if you want to just buy one, even maybe use a grade 8 bolt, just get a nice 3/8 bolt that's flanged, and about 3.5 would be long. That'll be long enough. That's plenty. One thing I do have to warn you about, though, is this is chrome moly, and drilling this hole out for a larger bolt was a challenge. It was an absolute challenge. The original hole, I think, was about 5/16. It was large, so you had room, you know, to wiggle around in case everything didn't line up perfectly. But I literally took gold oxide drill bits, made sure they were good and sharp, and then stepped up I started with the 5/16, and then I stepped up a 1/64 of an inch and drilled it, and each time up 1/64 until I finally got to the size I wanted, which is, in this case, 25. If you're doing that and you have a 3/8 bolt, you can just stop at 3/8, obviously. But that stuff was so hard, and even doing that, I had to sharpen every bit before I went and did the other side. So it's a nightmare to drill through, just heads up. Anyway, I'm gonna just stick it up there, get the bolt started. I feel it right there at the hole, so what I'm gonna try to do now is actually take my angle iron. It's gonna go this way. It'll be hard to get it in here and show you, but it sits just like this. And then I'm gonna, let's see if we can, yep. Just take my little drill and run it through, and you can see it come right through that hole right there. Or hopefully you can see. Look what GoPro did. They took away the preview from your camera while you're recording. Preview is not available while recording. It used to do that. Now it doesn't. How am I supposed to know if I'm, hell, I could be looking at my feet right now and I wouldn't know. That's gonna make things fun. Anyway, so I'll just put this on the back of this bolt. Get it started. Trip over some stuff. Hunt for my 15mm. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Preparation, people. And I'm just gonna go ahead and start tightening this up. All right, got it pretty snug. I'm not gonna tighten that up until I get this tightened down a little bit more. Depending on your hardware, this may vary, but for me, this is a 19. Start tightening them down. Pull it up nice against the machine. Now I tighten them down until it bottoms out. The thickness of the washer, plus the thickness of the plate, plus the thread length on this L bolt makes it so you can bottom this bolt or this nut out on the bolt and not crush your plastics. So it really works out pretty good like that. And there we are. So now those are tight. I'm gonna go ahead and tighten this down. Now you can crush the plastic here, so I'm just tightening it until I see it sink in and then stop. Because once it's stopped, all you're gonna do from that point is crush the plastic behind it. But that is not going anywhere. So yeah, that's mounted. So So knowing me and how I do things, this is probably going to be a 20-minute, 25-minute video, 30 minutes, who knows. And all I do is put on 4 nuts. Well, 3 nuts and a bolt. But anyway, you know, that's just how I do things. And a lot of people like my videos for that. They like the detail. They like that I explain everything as clearly as I can. And that's my goal. I want you to not only see the process, but understand why I do what I do and the choices I make. May not always be the right ones, but I believe they are to the best of my ability. I try to steer folks in the right direction. So when those are on, this is going to be the end of this video. I don't specifically know what the next one will be. Like I said, it probably will be these nice little Mudbuster fender flares. Really easy, really simple. No more than a 30-minute video for sure. So anyway, we'll see. But for now, I'm gonna sign off, and thanks for watching. I'm gonna try to keep this on a schedule. Right now, my plan is to do ride videos on Fridays and how-to videos or build videos or whatever on Tuesdays. Kind of split the difference between them and stick to a schedule so everybody knows when to expect them. And I guess that'll be it. So once again, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next, the next video.